Welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today I have a really fun project in mind. My son Connor has a 3D printer and he loves to make projects with it. He makes some really cool stuff. Well, he made me, upon special request, and this is one of those, if you know, you know. Does anyone know what these are? They're pretty famous. It's a Totoro from the very famous Hayao Miyazaki film, My Neighbor Totoro. And this is such a nostalgic movie for me and my children. Aren't those adorable? Well, let me tell you a little story. So years ago, this is, let me see, probably in the late 1990s, when they still had Blockbuster video rental stores with the VHSs and you had to rewind them before you returned them. If you know, you know. It's pretty dinosaur age. But I was walking through the movie section with my children and I saw the cover art and I had never heard of Miyazaki. I had never heard of Studio Ghibli. We didn't watch a lot of network TV. We didn't even know what Pokemon were back then. So totally clueless, but the cover art was so adorable and it had this little character. I'm like, well, let's give it a try. So we rented the movie and all of us immediately fell in love. We were obsessed with Miyazaki films. And so anyway, Totoro has been a thing in our family for years and years and years, decades now. And my son made these for me for soap stamps. So they have a little rise to them. They're just adorable. I don't know how he did it. I wish I knew how he did it, but I'm so thankful. So today is a Totoro-inspired soap, and I am going to be stamping my little Totoros on the soaps after they're done. And it made me think of, what do I want Totoro to sit in? So I thought of a little green grassy field with a blue sky and a sunshine. So speaking of the sunshine, I have a little round column mold here. I'll need to make a little micro batch of soap and I'm going to color it with Sunday Fun Day from Wholesale Supplies Plus for a yellow sunny sky. And then for the sky part, I'm going to use my azure blue mica, again, Wholesale Supplies Plus, and I will do a titanium dioxide in the pot swirl. So it'll just be kind of a swirly blue sky. And for the grass, I have my little, this is a frosting comb, but my tool that I use to make grass. And for the green grass, I'm going to use Lily Pad Green, Wholesale Supplies Plus again. It's a little bluish green, but I want this to be almost like cartoony looking, because Totoro is a cartoon or an animated film. So that's going to be the grassy color, and we'll layer it up. And then when we're all said and done the next day, when it's time to bevel and stamp, we're going to do our little Totoro stamps. And I will probably, I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to dip these in a little bit of mica so that they'll really pop and stand out. But we'll talk about that when we get there. They are a little shallow, so I'm going to have to be delicate with these. And I did a practice run. They don't have anything to pull it up out of the soap, so I have a couple of challenges working with these, but we are going to get through the challenges because I think they're going to be so worth it. I absolutely love Totoro. I'm obsessed. Actually, we're so obsessed that this last year, my husband and I took our son Connor on a cruise around the coast of Japan, and we were at this one very exclusive shopping mall, and they had a whole Miyazaki Studio Ghibli store, and we just spent hours in there poking around everything. So that's where we're at. I just love it. So I have not picked out a fragrance yet, but of course, by the time we come back, I will have that picked out. I want to get something that's not going to discolor and is not going to speed up trace. I don't want anything going fiddly on me today. So I'll go pick out a fragrance, got the colors already. So I'm going to get everything pulled together and we will come back and make some My Neighbor Totoro inspired soaps today. All right, it has been a while since I've showed how I do all the additives in my lye solution. So I figured I'd bring you along for that. And I've got my little sunshine embed poured, ready to unmold. I hope you enjoyed the making of the Totoro stamps that my son sent me. I just am fascinated by his 3D printer. All that being said, let's talk about this. Right here, I have a 50-50 split of cool distilled water and cool aloe vera juice. I keep my jugs in the refrigerator, so they're very cold to the touch, but not icy. And so for this recipe, I needed 10 ounces of liquid total, or 286 grams of liquid total. You could do all water, you could do all aloe juice, you could do milk. But today it's a 50-50 water aloe. And to this, before the sodium hydroxide goes in, I'm going to add my sugar. I just use unbleached cane sugar. You could do powdered sugar, white sugar, or no sugar at all. The reason I add sugar is it is a lather booster. Sugars help create lather in your soap, so I love it, and I'm going to add it in here because I want these little Totoro bars to be super bubbly. So anything I can do to my soap recipe that help boost up the lather, I'm all in for that. Now, I don't measure this specifically. I'm going to use I'd say about a tablespoon or maybe 2 teaspoons. This scoop is 2 tablespoons, and it's about half full. So I'm really not specific. It is not that specific. You just want to be able to dissolve it all. If you put too much in there, it won't all dissolve, and then you'll get clumps. So whatever amount you're adding, make sure it's all well and dissolved in your water before you add your lye. If you add your lye and then try to add your sugar, it will caramelize and literally turn into a big chunk of sugar, and that's not fun. We don't want that in our soap. So I'm just going to stir this around. So about, again, 10 ounces of liquid and about 2 teaspoons to 1 tablespoon of sugar. That's what we've got so far. And once this gets dissolved, I have my big jar of Tussa silk fibers. These are natural, unbleached silk fibers that I like to add to the soap because it adds a silky feel to the lather, literally a silky feel, and it makes the bars nice and glossy when they're wet. And I have it, and so I'm going to use it up. I don't know if I'll rebuy this or not. It's a fun ingredient, and I love my extras. So let me show you about how much. And again, this is not specific. This is so lightweight. I just take a little pinch off. That's a lot. Let's go ahead and do a lot today. Why not? And I stretch it out so it'll melt when the lye comes in here and this heats up. This melts really quickly. So I guess if I mush it up, it's about the size of the head of a Q-tip. If I had to describe it, it really has no weight. I have like a little jewelry scale, and this doesn't even register on there. So just a pinch is what I'm saying. And again, totally optional. You can leave this out, no big deal. But I go ahead and I throw this in my cold water and sugar solution. All right, I'm just making sure all that sugar is dissolved in here fully. The only caution is if you're working with milk, you want to add your lye very slowly so that it doesn't build up heat mass and your silk will not melt in a full milk soap. So no silk for the full milk. When I do milk and oil, I make my lye solution separate. I can add the silk because it gets hot enough to melt. Hope that's making sense. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to add my sodium hydroxide, which is lye. And after I add that, I'll let this sit off to the side, start cooling down. Then I will come in with my sodium lactate, and you use this at a rate of 1 teaspoon per pound of oils. So I'll add about a teaspoon and a half of sodium lactate into here after my lye water has cooled a little bit. I rushed it in one video that you all saw, and several people were commenting, I thought you were supposed to wait till your lye cools. Yes, you are. For the sake of the video and moving along, I was doing the heat transfer method. I added it while the lye was hot. It was not the end of the world, so it's okay. But anyway, some people are strict rule followers. Other people are a little more loosey-goosey. Hello, that would be me. So you do what you're comfortable with soaping, because sodium hydroxide is not something to mess around with. You want to be cautious, have your safety gear on. I have goggles on, wear a mask. You do not want to breathe the fumes. It's not good for you. Once the fumes have off-gassed and this is dissolved, you don't have to be so, cautious anymore. But this is a caustic material, so until this turns into soap, it will burn your skin. All right, and because this isn't milk or anything, I don't have to be slow. I just add it right on in there, and you want to keep stirring until it is fully dissolved. So that is my only caution with lye, is you don't want chunks in the bottom. So I just stir until I don't feel the grit anymore. And it kind of clouds up. I think that's because of the aloe. I don't know if you can see the steam coming off of here. Let me go grab my thermometer and I'll tell you how hot this gets so quickly. I love the science of soap. It's amazing. So this was refrigerator cold water and aloe. And all of my silk is melted. It got real hot. So let's take the temperature and see how high this goes. 186, and that is in a matter of seconds. So it'll even go a little bit higher than that. So anyway, be very cautious. I wouldn't have children or pets around while you're, making this part of the soap. So now I'm going to set this off to the side to cool, and let's get into the soap recipe. All right, we are back for the soap recipe. I have shared this before, so we'll go through it quickly. The first oil is coconut oil. I need 10.8 ounces or 306 grams of coconut oil. All right, and our next oil is palm oil. I need 5.4 ounces or 153 grams of palm oil. All right, and the last hard butter is shea butter. I need 1.8 ounces or 51 ounces of shea butter. All right, that's it for my hard oils and butter, so I'm going to give this a little pre-melt and we'll come back for the liquid oils. And we are back for the liquid portion. The first oil is castor oil, and I need 1.8 ounces or 51 grams of castor oil. And our next oil is olive oil, and I need 7.2 ounces or 204 grams of olive oil. All right, and our last oil is high oleic sunflower oil. I need 9 ounces or 255 grams. All right, that is it for the base oils for this recipe. And now I'm going to get my additives to go in my oils. All right, for today's additives, I'm just going to do my kaolin clay because it's smooth and white and it doesn't make any specklies in the soap, and I really want the Totoro and the scene to stand out. So no oats today. And I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of kaolin clay into my oils. And the fragrances in here, I chose coconut lime verbena from Nature's Garden. It doesn't discolor or speed up trace, so I'll hopefully have plenty of time to do my design. And so that's the scent I picked out. It's just really fresh and bright, and I thought that went along with my little Totoro. Fresh and bright, I love it. So that's about 1 tablespoon of clay. Again, I'm not super specific. If you did 2 tablespoons, if you did a teaspoon, it would be fine. And again, it's an optional ingredient. You don't have to add clay at all if you don't have it or you don't want to. Totally optional. Before we get to adding our lye into the oils, let's go ahead and get my little embed here unmolded and measured up for this mold. So it's a little bit longer. I'm going to have to cut it down. And these little silicone molds are just so easy. You just peel them and there you go. How easy is that? Ta-da! And now I have a sunshine for my Totoro. And I love it. I made this a couple days ago and just let it sit in the mold. And I will have the mini recipe, it's a very basic recipe, listed down below in the description box. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to set that off to the side, and let's talk about the game plan that we've got going on here. All right, so the plan is to bring this up to a light trace, and then I'm going to pour off for my grass, which I'm going to use my little frosting comb on, and I have decided to add a color I want to do in the pot swirl. So I'm going to add this, what is it? Matte Woodland Green, and it's a pigment powder. along with the little grasshopper green. I just wanted it to be kind of swirly and have a little dimension to the grass. I didn't want it too flat. So we'll do a little mini in the pot swirl, get the grass down in here, and I'm going to blend this to a nice thick trace. I'm going to leave this at a thin trace so I have time to work with the layers. So hopefully we can get the grass up to a thick trace and get it poured and have it thick enough where my little grass comb will go through and leave cute little, grassy things. That's the plan. Boy, it smells good in here. That coconut lime verbena is such a fresh scent, and it soaks well. If you haven't tried it, I suggest you give it a go. It's very nice. All right, I like to have all my equipment that I might possibly need ready to go, so I'm not grasping and running around for things. I try to be prepped. So this is nice and cool. I went and ice bathed it, so everything is ready to blend up. So let's get into making some Totoro soaps. All right, it's been a couple minutes, and let's try this and see if it will hold the shape. Are back. It's the next day, and I love the little swirls. I can't wait to see how these colors came out on the inside. So let's get this out of the mold and get to cutting. We are back with the lovely Olga, and I think her coloring goes with the soap perfectly. I wanted to mention really quickly, every time I use this I get asked, so I'll go over it again. This is 1 part water-soluble titanium dioxide mixed with 2 parts water in this bottle, and there are little ball bearings in there, so I shake it up. I don't know if you can hear the ball bearings, but it keeps it fluid because after it sits for a while, it will settle. I make a big bottle of this, so I have it ready on the shelf, so I do add a little bit of preservative in here. But you don't have to do that if you make it one little bit at a time for each batch of soap. Skip the preservative. I just like to have this on the ready. So that is what was in the bottle, and I wanted to add it to the uncolored portion just to brighten up the color a little bit. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get into this soap. I'm so excited to see what we've got going on the inside with the grass and the sunshine and all the goodness that's inside of here. All right, cuts really butter smooth. Oh yay, it's gonna be good. Oh, isn't that cute? Now gosh, I have no idea if that light blue is the actual baby grasshopper green. I don't know, it didn't break through. And the little grass spikes are very subtle, but I think it looks like grass down there. We're gonna say it looks like grass. Love how the sunshine came up in the swirly sky. Let's see how this grass looks as we get in there. Yeah, it was a little soft, but you can still see the little grassy peaks. I guess that's the baby grasshopper green. It was more blue than green, which is a little vexing, but I think the overall theme, and again, I wanted these to look a little cartoony because Totoro is an animated character, so I don't mind that it looks a little bit cartoonish, if you will. I think it's pretty. So cute, and it smells so good. So these are a little bit tacky today, and I'm actually glad for that. Normally, when I cut my soaps, if they feel a little bit sticky or tacky, I just let them sit for a day or two or several hours before I come in and do the beveling and stamping. But I want the surface of these to be a little bit softer when I come in with these Totoros, because the, let me show you, the depth of the stamp on there is very shallow. So I can't really pound hard. So I'm actually glad these are a little bit, not soft, but tacky today. I'm hoping that will help with the impression of our Totoros when we get to that point. There, you can see the grass. Oh, I'm loving it. These just make me happy. A sunshiny day and a fresh smell. You can't get better than that. Maybe you can with the Totoro stamp. I'm just loving how these came out. All right, well, I'm going to go get my beveling things, and we will come back and get the side stamp on these, and then I will talk you through the little Totoro stamp as we try and see how we can get an impression on these. We are back. All of these have been beveled and have my logo stamp on them. And I've decided to try Magic Mushroom for the impression stamp for my little Totoros because I love the name. It's a beautiful color, and I thought it went with the theme really well. So I have it kind of on this paper plate, and I'm trying to get it to spread out, and it's clumping, so that's a little problematic. So the first attempt here that I'm going to try, so I've thought about a couple different ways of doing this. I'm going to mist the front of the soap with my isopropyl alcohol, which will just evaporate off. But that way, I'm thinking when I come in with my stamp, it'll make the mica stick. That's what I'm hoping. So let's try one like that. If not, then I had another idea, which is I can just go ahead and dry stamp these on and go in with my little paintbrush and paint in, mica paint the grooves. But that would be pesky because that's very tiny, but I think we could do it. But I'd like to try this way first, where I'm going to mist this and dry stamp into the wet soap. We'll see. It's all theory. It's all in my head right now. Let's give it a try and see. All right, we will go for, let's do this one. So got the soap nice and wet. And I'm going to tap him very gently. I don't want it to get up on the bottom. These are such shallow stamps. And the other thing is, if you are going to make a stamp, I would put a lip or a little something on the back to pull it out of the soap. I don't really have an exit strategy for these, so we will see. But gosh, they're so cute. I'm really hoping these little guys come out well. All right, so I think I've got mica on all the grooves. I'm going to dust off some of the heavier stuff here. All right, so he's very lightly dusted, and let's give it a try. I hope he comes out. Oh my goodness. All right, I'll just kind of plop him in there. I don't want it to move. And let's see what we got. Okay, all right. Got to be careful because the soap is wet on top. All right, I'm not mad at that. It's a little muddled up. Not bad for a first attempt. Now, you know what? Let's try a dry one. Let me just try a dry one, and then I'm going to try and paint into the grooves and see how that goes. Let's try that. And I am planning on, once this dries, flipping these over and doing another Totoro on the flip side of these soaps. So I've got a lot of area to practice. So you're coming with me as we try this right out of the starting gates here. Let's put this little guy here. This is the medium. That was the smallest one. This is the medium size one. And because I'm going to be painting, I want nice deep grooves so that hopefully the mica paint won't bleed. Yeah, I don't have an exit strategy for these stamps. There we go. Okay. Or, you know, what if I didn't do mica? He's just really cute. But let me go make up a little mica paint and try to get in those teeny little grooves. All right, so for mica paint, I have a little Dixie cup. And I'm going to put just a touch of the mica, that's probably 1/8 of a teaspoon, in here. And a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, again, because this will evaporate out and just leave the mica behind. And just a little bit. I don't want this to be too watery. There we go. That was maybe 1/2 teaspoon of alcohol. Stir that up. Let's see what we get. It's a little liquidy, but let's give it a try. And I do not have the steadiest hands in the world, so please pardon my shaky hands. Oh my, I think this brush is too thick. There's no way I'm going to get it in there. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. Let me see. Let me try and pick up some mica dust. All right, so I have the mica paint in all the grooves, and now I'm going to take a damp washcloth and just wipe off the surface so that hopefully all that will be left is what's in the grooves. Oh, that's working. Okay, there we go. Oh, hello, Totoro. That's working pretty nice, actually. Look at that. Oh, okay. As pesky and time-consuming as that was, I think this is going to be my method going forward, where I'm going to dry stamp and come in with a little wet mica paint and then wipe off the excess, because I like that impression. It is definitely more standout than this little guy got a bit muddied up. So, a little time-consuming. I'll fast forward through this. Let's get some Totoros down on these soaps. Well, that was a fun project. Look at these little guys. I am pretty tickled with how these came out. I got little Totoros. I got medium Totoros. I got Totoros. Wait, where's my medium? There he is. Oh, I'm so happy with how these came out. And I'll leave a link for the digital guy where my son bought the template pattern for this. I can't remember the name offhand, but I'll leave a link giving credit to the guy who designed this, and then my son downloaded it into his 3D printer. So anyway, I am so happy with how these came out. If you get creative and have some cool stamp ideas for a 3D printer, I'd love to hear about it. And I hope you give the recipe a try. If you're a Miyazaki fan, let me know. If you know all about Studio Ghibli and the awesome animated creations therein, it's kind of a family staple at our house. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had fun making these. These make me happy. I hope they make you happy too, and have a wonderful day.